When Raila Odinga died in October 2025, many people believed that opposition politics in Kenya had died with him. But one man is starting to change that story.
Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi ndio Sifuna.
Ni nani? Ni nani? Ni nani?
Na nyinyi ni kina nani? Bas.
Sifuna is now one of the most talked about politicians in Kenya. He has been labeled truthful and fearless, attacking anyone he feels like he's failing the people, especially the government and even the president.
Mheshimiwa Rais, wanasema Waswahili mwiba wa kujidunga hauambiwi pole. Kuna watu kwa serikali yako kazi yao ni kushika handball kila siku.
Now, presidents don't always enjoy being criticized in public. Back in April 2025, Ruto openly warned Sifuna. He said that if Sifuna continued attacking him, a meeting would be called to discipline him.
Wakati unaongea mambo yangu Sifuna, ujue mimi ndio mwanzilishi wa ODM. So, naenda pole pole kidogo.
Well, about a year later, that meeting finally happened. Sifuna was removed from his position. Many people thought this would end his political rise, but something different is happening. Sifuna is now more popular than ever and even louder than ever.
Makosa yangu kubwa sana. Nimesema kwamba Ruto 2027 lazima aende nyumbani.
Kenyan voters like this kind of politician, bold, loud and fearless. Already, Sifuna is being labeled as the next president of Kenya. So, will Sifuna ever become president? Let's talk about that. But to truly understand his story, we have to go back to the beginning. As compared to many old politicians we like voting for, Sifuna is not too old. He was born on May 22nd, 1982 in Kakamega. He's about 43 years old, and in African politics, you know, he's still a baby. He has not always been powerful. This is an old photo of Edwin Sifuna. At this time, he was young. He had no power and not even enough money to buy better attire. Anyway, attire does not define a man. What defines a man is vision, right? Luckily, Sifuna had the vision, and he also had another trait. He was loud or noisy. But his noise was necessary noise. The noise that brings change, the noise that can even make a president angry, and the kind that can even give you a powerful position in one of the biggest political parties in Kenya. Yes, Sifuna became the Secretary General of ODM by making noise. He was not appointed by anyone. In a way, he appointed himself by force. And power most times is not given, it's taken. That is something Sifuna understands very well. Back in 2016, the ODM party had a leader named Ababu Namwamba. He was very powerful. Many people believed that he was planning to leave the ODM party and join the government side, which he did. So someone had to step in and fill that gap. And Sifuna was ready. He did not wait for a formal meeting. In June 2016, Sifuna organized some youths and stormed the Orange House, the ODM party headquarters in Nairobi. There, he declared himself the new Secretary General.
From today, I, Edwin Sifuna, is the Secretary General of the party, Orange Democratic Movement.
Fearlessly, he announced that he had replaced the Budalangi Member of Parliament Ababu Namwamba from the post. Sifuna claimed that Ababu Namwamba was in bed with the enemies of ODM and was working against the interest of the party leader, Raila Odinga. And you know, Raila Odinga was the party.
Well, there is something called absence without leave, even in military parlance. And if you have followed what the military do, a junior officer has every right to relieve a commander of his command, even a general, if he deserts his post. So we are saying that at this particular juncture in time, seeing that we are only about 12 months away from the election, we cannot afford for somebody to sit in an office that he does not want to, carry out the duties of.
Now, before making this shocking announcement and appointing himself, Edwin Sifuna was serving in a much smaller role inside the party. At the time, he was the chairperson of the Disputes Tribunal at the Orange Democratic Movement. It was an important role, but not as powerful as the position of Secretary General. So when Sifuna suddenly declared himself the new Secretary General, it shocked many people inside the party. And of course, the man he was replacing was not happy. Ababu Namwamba strongly criticized the move. During this television interview on KTN around June 2016, he dismissed Sifuna's actions as bad manners.
Number one, the action taken by Edwin Sifuna is an illustration of the bad manners in ODM that I have been committed to cleaning up. Anarchy, impunity, disrespect for the constitution and established order of doing things.
Namwamba even went further. He said that Sifuna was basically a nobody in the party.
First of all, I would ask, who is Edwin Sifuna? Who is Edwin Sifuna? In the structure of the party, in the leadership of the party, I know no character called Edwin Sifuna, and I will not respond to a character who holds no official position. I don't know who he is. I don't know who he's speaking for.
He's in the dispute resolution
I will not
of your
respond.
party.
I'll really respond.
Do you not recognize that role that he plays in ODM?
No. Those are small things that I would not want to respond to. It's a time waster.
But politics can change very fast, because that nobody that Namwamba talked about slowly rose through the ranks to become one of the most powerful members of ODM. And now, Sifuna is even bigger than Ababu Namwamba. And I know some young people today barely even know who Ababu Namwamba is. Anyway, whatever Edwin Sifuna did was daring. Some people were shocked, but the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, seemed to like it. He saw that Sifuna was a fighter. And from that moment, Sifuna slowly became one of Raila's trusted men. He spoke for Raila, he defended Raila. Sometimes the things Raila could not say directly, Sifuna would say them loudly and proudly.
Mtu kama Cherargei, yeye anaweza piga nani hapa mbele vile mnaona hapa. Who can Cherargei fight here? He talks like that because he knows he's going to hide behind the instruments of violence of the state. Senator Cherargei, instead of organizing your boys to come and fight peaceful demonstrators, just come and fight Sifuna. Hey, akuje tu tukutane watu wawili.
By 2018, Sifuna was officially elected as the Secretary General of ODM at a major meeting in a stadium in Nairobi. And remember, ODM was and still is one of the largest political parties in Africa. Sifuna became Secretary General at just 34 years old. For him, it was the beginning of a completely new chapter in politics. And we'll talk about this chapter later in this video. Now let's talk about his background. Edwin Sifuna comes from a political family. Politics was already in his blood. But interestingly, that influence did not mainly come from his father, his mother, his brother. No, it came from his uncle, Lawrence Sifuna. Lawrence Sifuna was a long-time member of parliament in Kenya. And just like Sifuna, he was known for being loud and very aggressive in politics. He became famous for standing up against the government of Daniel Moi during the years when Kenya was under a strong one-party system. Lawrence Sifuna was part of a famous group known as the Seven Bearded Sisters. This was a group of 7 young Kenyan opposition members of parliament in the late 1970s and 1980s. They were known for speaking out strongly and fearlessly against the government of Daniel Arap Moi at a time when many politicians were afraid to challenge the system. Apart from Sifuna's uncle, other well-known leaders in that group included James Orengo, yes, the governor of Siaya, and Koigi Wawamwere. So now you know where Sifuna's loudness and his political aggressiveness probably comes from. Some people claim that Sifuna was a dynasty or came from a rich family because his uncle was a politician. But his family was actually a modest family. And remember, your uncle's money is not your money. Sifuna's father was a civil servant working for the municipal council, and his mother was a teacher. These were decent jobs, especially if you ask someone who grew up in the 1980s and 1990s. Even in school, Sifuna was already loud, outgoing, and confident. Back in high school, he led the cheering squad for the rugby team at Musingu Boys High School for 4 years. Musingu is a big school. In fact, it's one of the most popular national schools in Western Kenya, located in Kakamega County. Sifuna's cheering role at Musingu High School even earned him trips outside the school for sport events. He also held a bit of power. If you wanted to enjoy some fun during the school sports season, but you're not a player, Sifuna was your man to get your name onto the list. Now that was a very powerful position in high school. And before joining Mushingu, Sifuna had studied at Kakamega Township Primary School.
Wakati ambapo nimefika umri wa kwenda shule, mimi nimesoma hapa Amalemba Kakamega Township Primary School. Na baba, wakati ambapo nimeingia sekondari nimesoma Musingu High School.
After finishing high school, he joined the University of Nairobi to study law. Yes, he was smart. was admitted to the Parklands campus in 2001 to pursue a Bachelor's of Laws degree.
I was the only person in our class, class of 2001, wale tuliingia university 2001, wenye walitoka Musingu. Maze sasa unakuja Nairobi unakuta wazito wametoka sijui kwanza Alliance, kuna wase 10
my guy
my guy. Haya, kuna Mangeus hapo wametoka sijui PB sijui ni walikuwa wanaziita sijui patch, unajua majina
zenye watu wa ushago
hatuelewi.
At university, Sifuna did what many students do. He partied, he played pool. In short, he enjoyed student life.
Si ndio wale wase tulikuwa tunapelekwanga sasa atima club hizi. Bro, club ungetoa wapi Bungoma? Sasa ndio unapelekwa hapo K1. Unakunywa unalamba bia moja usiku mzima.
But that was not all. He also started becoming interested in something very serious: politics. In 2002, he was among thousands of supporters of the National Rainbow Coalition who gathered at Uhuru Park. The crowd waved their hands and sang the famous slogan, "Yote yawezekana bila Moi." During that rally, it's reported that the ODM leader Raila Odinga publicly declared his support for Mwai Kibaki in the presidential election. Kibaki later went on to win that election with about 67% of the vote. His main rival was Uhuru Kenyatta of Kanu, who at that time was being supported by the outgoing president Daniel Arap Moi, who people were tired of. 4 years later, after that historic election, Edwin Sifuna graduated with a law degree from the University of Nairobi. That was in 2006. But around that time, something happened that forced him to go back to school. In the past, law graduates in Kenya could start practicing soon after finishing university. But the legal sector introduced new policy changes. One of the biggest challenges was the requirement that law graduates must attend the Kenya School of Law and obtain a postgraduate diploma before they could be admitted to the bar. This rule had not existed in earlier years, so Sifuna had to go back to school. He enrolled at the Kenya School of Law, completed his postgraduate diploma, and in 2008, he was officially admitted as a lawyer. Before fully venturing into politics, Edwin Sifuna made a name for himself in the legal profession. He worked as legal affairs manager at Magnet Ventures Limited for 3 years. He later worked as a legal and administration officer at Mini Group of Companies for about a year. He then went on to establish his own firm, Sifuna and Associates Advocates, focusing on corporate law, constitutional law, and litigation, and he was representing both private and public clients. But even before officially joining ODM, Sifuna had already started gaining attention in public life. He became somewhat popular when he served in the Council of the Law Society of Kenya between 2016 and 2018. At one point during his time in the council, he was the leader of a movement called Okoa LSK that pushed for several changes and reforms within the lawyers' organization. Around this time, Edwin Sifuna was also writing very controversial opinion articles in newspapers. In these articles, he openly criticized the government, but interestingly, he also criticized decisions within the ODM party itself. He questioned how the party was being run and even suggested what he believed were better ways to organize and manage a political party. As you can imagine, this made many people inside the party angry. But one important person was not angry at all. That person was Anyang' Nyong'o, who is now the governor of Kisumu County. Instead of being offended, Nyong'o was impressed. In fact, he invited Sifuna for lunch. During that meeting, he reportedly told the young lawyer that he was exactly the kind of voice the party needed at that time. Not long after that conversation, Sifuna was quietly recruited into a team that was helping Raila Odinga to rethink his political strategy after he lost the 2013 presidential election. And in many ways, the 2013 election became the turning point in Sifuna's political journey. Because during that time is when he finally got his big political break.
Kwa meet baba ile time tukiwa kampo mara moja. Lakini sasa 2013 alikuwa sasa ameanguka kura ya 2013. Hiyo time after election ndio kufikia baba inakuanga rahisi zaidi.
Yes.
Kwa sababu kila mtu anakuanga amepotea. So nilienda kwa ofisi yake nikamkuta tu amekaa vile umekaa hivi.
Yes.
Akaleta chai hapo tukakunywa watu wawili. Nikamshow sasa unajua ambia kaa chini, akaniambia wewe ni nani? Nikamuexplainia vile tulikutanaga na yeye time fulani. Nikamshow sasa sahi hii election imeisha, tujaribu kuprepare for next election. Kwa sababu haikuange ati period mrefu hivyo. So that's how me and Mzee came to know each other.
Wow. After joining the ODM, Sifuna quickly became an important voice inside the party.
Now, they say at the ODM handpicked people. Who handpicked Edwin Sifuna?
Many members began to notice him, and remember, Sifuna has always been loud and outspoken. So getting attention was never difficult for him. But it was not just the noise. He also impressed many top leaders in ODM. They saw that he was energetic, fearless, and knowledgeable. He understood how political parties worked and how they should be run. In 2013, Sifuna joined Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, also known as CORD. There, he served as part of the coalition's technical and advisory team. He stayed in that role for about 3 years. Later, when the opposition reorganized itself, he moved to the National Super Alliance, also known as NASA, where he continued serving in a similar advisory role. But Sifuna did not want to remain behind the scenes forever. So, in 2017, he decided to run for a public office. He wanted the ODM ticket to run for Member of Parliament in Kandui constituency in Bungoma County, but he did not succeed. But ODM leaders saw something special in Sifuna. Within just weeks before the general election, they asked him to run for Nairobi Senator. At the time, the seat was held by Mike Sonko.
So nilikuwa nimekaa kwa ofisi tu, wenyewe tena wakanipigia simu. Wakaniambia, unajua ule mse tumepatia ticket ya Senate ya Nairobi, hatuoni kama atameka. Jamaa alikuwa anaitwa Chapia. Alikuwa mpewa Chapia. Alikuwa mpewa direct ticket, tena alipewa na baba tena live kwa TV. Haya. Wakaniambia tunataka to change you candidate. Nikamwambia mimi sina shida.
Sifuna gave it everything, but he lost. He received 674,056 votes, about 42% of the total vote. It was still a good performance, but Johnson Sakaja received more votes and won that seat. Now, according to Sifuna, the biggest challenge in that election was raising the money for campaign. At one point, a businessman, who people call a billionaire, Jimmy Wanjigi, reportedly told him to prepare a campaign budget. Together with his team, Sifuna prepared a budget of about 54 million cash shillings. But according to Sifuna, that money never came.
Akaniambia pesa. That's why I'm here, Sifuna.
Hey.
Na ukisikia Jimmy Wanjigi, huyo mtu kitu unajua juu yake ni nini?
Money. Jesus Christ.
Akasema, yeah, now we are talking.
Hadi shida ya tatu ikapotea.
Shida ya tatu nikamwambia, ndio nipate a good chance ya kushinda, muambie coalition partners pia wasisimamishe candidate mwingine. Akasema, hiyo tutamaliza. Boss, si Wanjigi amesema nitengeneze budget. Nikaenda kukaa na timu yangu. Magari, billboard. Kakuja 45 million. Hapo ndo najiuliza, na 45 million ni kidogo kwa Wanjigi. Si tuongeze, acha tu round off kwa 50. Tuka round off kwa 50.
Akapatia 70.
Boss. Nilipelekanga hiyo proposal, hiyo budget kwa hiyo restaurant yake kwa Caramel.
Caramel hapo ABC.
Hapo ABC place. Kaniambia, sawa. Let's work on it, but in the meantime chukua hii ya mafuta, katoa 100k. That is the last time. That is the last time nilisikia kutoka Jimmy Wanjigi.
That's why I'm
kama
here. That's why I'm not
kama nadanganya
akuja
aseme.
But something important happened. People across the country had now noticed this young lawyer from Kakamega County. His name was becoming well known in Kenyan politics. In February 2018, during the ODM National Delegates Convention held at Kasarani Stadium, Sifuna was officially elected Secretary General of the Orange Democratic Movement. He replaced Ababu Namwamba, if you remember. It was not an easy job. As Secretary General, he helped organize party campaigns, solve internal disputes, and speak on national political issues. And he did it in the same style people had come to know, very openly and without fear. Sifuna was never afraid of making enemies, and because of that, he made quite a few enemies along the way. Some people described him as brilliant and principled. Others said he was too outspoken or alikuwa na kierere. But through it all, Sifuna remained loyal to the ideals of ODM, pushing for better jobs, fair governance, and policies that support ordinary citizens. He served as the Secretary General for about 8 years. That's a long time. In 2019, he also became Vice Chair of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. Then came the 2022 general election. This time, Sifuna once again ran for Nairobi Senator on the ODM ticket, and this time it was successful.
Watenya Sifuna as duly elected as Senator, Nairobi City County.
Sifuna received 716,876 votes and was elected senator for Nairobi County. And by the way, this is Sifuna's wife. Even though he likes to keep his family life private, some information about them is available online. The name of the wife is Didi Wamukoya, who's a lawyer like Sifuna, but environmental lawyer with a master's degree. Yes, Sifuna married a smart wife, unlike you. They got married in 2015 according to lawyer customs, and they have one daughter according to sources online.
Baba, I have an 8-year-old daughter.
Anyway, in August 2022, Edwin Sifuna took the oath of the office as senator. Just like that, the boy from Mumias, Kakamega, was now representing Kenya's biggest city, Nairobi. In February 2023, he was appointed Deputy Minority Whip. He also joined several important committees, including Energy, National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, and County Public Accounts. He even sponsored bills focusing on county printing services, energy projects, and sports development. But politics can change very quickly. And for Sifuna, trouble inside the ODM party, the same party he had defended for years, began after a major political moment in 2024. That was when President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga reached a political handshake during a tense period marked by the Gen Z protests in Kenya. Soon after that moment, 5 senior ODM leaders were appointed to the cabinet. Then, on March 7, 2025, Sifuna attended the signing of a political agreement between the Orange Democratic Movement and the United Democratic Alliance. The agreement created what was called a broad-based government. Many people were surprised to see Sifuna at the meeting. Why? Because he had been one of the loudest critics of the Kenya Kwanza government. But almost immediately after the broad-based agreement was announced, Sifuna began to distance himself from it. He said many times that the deal was only meant to last 12 months and was focused mainly on reforms, not on forming a long-term political coalition for the 2027 election. He also argued that the government had failed to keep some key promises. Among those promises, he said, was stopping police brutality and compensating victims of the protests. Party leader Raila Odinga would sometimes defend him, saying that Orange Democratic Movement, or ODM, should allow democracy, even as more people in the party demanded that Sifuna be removed.
Kama Sifuna ameongea, ako na haki ya kuongea. Ako na haki ya kuongea. Kama wewe unatofautiana na yeye kwa maoni, sema yako. Sema yako. Sio ndio demokrasia? Mimi sijasema ati mimi usiongee kwa chama namna hii. Sema hata kama unaona baba anafanya makosa, sema.
Things, however, became more complicated for Edwin Sifuna after the death of Raila Odinga in October last year. Most leaders in ODM chose to support the broad-based government, saying that the party should work together with the president's party. But Sifuna was not willing to be part of the broad-based agreement. He insisted that ODM should remain a strong and independent party that is not afraid to play the role of opposition.
Baba Raila Odinga alizungumza wazi mbele ya nchi nzima tarehe 22 mwezi uliopita mbele ya hawa wabunge katika hoteli ya Agile pale Nairobi. Baba aliongea kwa kinywa chake mwenyewe, na waomba viongozi msiingize maneno kwa mdomo ya mtu ambaye amelala. Alisema yeye mwenyewe, akasema kama chama lazima tujiandae kwa ajili ya uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027. Na wale ambao wanaeneza mambo mengine hapa, baba alisema, who has told you? Who has told you? Who has told you? Kwa hivyo sisi tutafuata the last standing instruction ya baba ambaye alitoa chini ya siku 23 ambazo zimepita kabla afariki.
Sifuna has many times made remarks that seem to target President William Ruto, whether in rallies, on social media, or even live on television.
Personally, I accept that it doesn't matter if I came with a letter from Jesus himself saying he has sent me to speak to William Ruto. He will not listen to a word that I am saying.
In February 2026, During a church service in Kitengela, Sifuna declared that he would continue challenging Ruto. He accused the government of weak leadership that was holding the country back. He said these words without fear, at one point even quoting his late boss Raila Odinga.
Na hatutaogopa kitu chochote. Tutaendelea kuongea ukweli ili tuweze kulinda wananchi wetu kutokana na dhulma ya Kasongo, kutokana na ufisadi ambao umekithiri Kenya hii, kutokana na mauaji, kutokana na abductions za vile vijana wetu kama hawa kina Bob Njagi. Wamepitia mengi sana hawa vijana. Na ni jukumu letu. Baba Raila Odinga alikuwa anatuambia ukiwa kiongozi huwezi kujiongoza wewe mwenyewe.
But this boldness also placed Sifuna in serious trouble. At one point, the president even threatened to mobilize support to have Sifuna disciplined.
Na nimesikia Sifuna anaongea na nguvu. Wakati unaongea mambo yangu Sifuna, ujue mimi ndio mwanzilishi wa ODM. So unaenda polepole kidogo. Yes. Sisi ndio tulianza hii kitu. Ama namna gani? Na unajua ukinisukuma sana nitaitisha mkutano ya founder members ya ODM. Si ndio? Na unajua tukiitisha hiyo mkutano tunaweza kufanyia discipline sisi ambao tulianza chama. Si ndio? So twendeni mosmos.
Many people interpreted this as a plan to have him pushed out of ODM, and that is exactly what happened. On February 11th, 2026, during a serious meeting in Mombasa, which Sifuna did not even attend, he was removed as Secretary General of the Orange Democratic Movement. He was immediately replaced in an acting capacity by Catherine Omanyo.
Having deliberated on matters relating to the conduct of the Secretary General, Senator Edwin Sifuna, the NEC resolved to remove him from office with immediate effect in accordance with the party constitution and applicable laws. Effectively, the Deputy Secretary General, Honorable Me.
Many people, especially the enemies of Sifuna, believe that this removal would end his political career and make him fade away, just like other outspoken leaders before him. But instead, it became a new beginning for Edwin Sifuna.
Sasa mimi ndio nyinyi. Na nyinyi ni kina nani? Bas.
Ni nani? Ni nani? Ni nani?
Munanijua? Munanijua? Mimi ni nani? Mimi ni nani?
Edwin Sifuna has started holding his own political rallies. And the most surprising thing about these rallies is the turnout. Thousands of people have been showing up to attend these rallies.
Walisema hatuwezi kuingia Kitengela. Nataka mseme wasikie hapa ni wapi? Hapa ni wapi? Hapa ni wapi? Tumeingia hatujaingia?
And Sifuna is not alone.
Tunasema ya kwamba watu wachie party. Tunataka Joshua aliye na nguvu. Do you want a strong Joshua or a weak Joshua? Do you want a strong Joshua or a weak Joshua? Do you want a younger Joshua or a tired Joshua?
Hatuna mchezo this time.
Together, they are promoting a movement known as Linda Mwananchi, which means protect the citizen. Even the governor of Kisumu County and ODM party leader, Anyang' Nyong'o, has publicly shown support for Sifuna. During an ODM meeting in early February 2026, Nyong'o openly defended Sifuna. He reminded party leaders that Raila Odinga himself had once chosen Sifuna as part of the party's future leadership. At that meeting, Nyong'o made a statement that later went viral. He said,
Ukiangalia huko mbele, utaona Sifuna. Utaona nani?
Those who want to pull us backwards, we tell them, oh, no. Those who want to pull us backwards, we tell them what? No.
In several interviews, Sifuna has explained that the new political movement plans to choose its own presidential candidate through an open process. In fact, he has even talked about developing multiple national leaders. The idea, he says, is to produce as many as 10 serious presidential contenders. Their long-term goal is simple: defeat President William Ruto in the next election by a huge margin, possibly by 5 million votes, to prove that Kenyans truly reject the current government.
Mukisema SG wenu wasimame kura 2027. Hiyo uchaguzi tunashinda tena mapema. So nasikia kuna watu wanazunguka wakisema ati ni baba pekee alikuwa anaweza kuangusha wao kura. Kuna mjumbe hapa ametuambia mtoto wa Simba ni nini? Simba.
Sifuna's sudden rise in national popularity has also been helped by one important factor: his strong connection with young voters, especially the Gen Z. Compared to other leaders like Odinga, who many young people say has zero aura, Sifuna appears younger, more energetic, and more in touch with what young people want. Because of this, many young voters feel that Sifuna has what some call a presidential aura. Anyway, the idea of a Sifuna presidency is no longer a joke. Many people are beginning to see it as a real possibility. After the death of Raila Odinga, many consider him the most viable candidate to take over Baba's legacy. Some are already saying that he should vie for the presidency in 2027. But the big question is this: is it really possible? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.